Hello, I'm Chris Kromm with Facing South and the Institute for Southern Studies. I'm joined today by Maria Hernandez, a member of Unite Here, Local 23, who lives in Charlotte and works at the Charlotte Airport in North Carolina. Hello, Maria. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi there. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you. Well, look, I just wanted to start with a little background. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got involved with Unite Here?
Well, I was tired of the attacks on immigrant families and Latino communities. As you know, I'm a third generation U.S. citizen, and both me and my grandson, we always have to carry our passport, ID, and birth certificates wherever we go. We've been stopped before where we have to, basically show everything, our whole paperwork and everything. We still have to wait for them supposedly to verify us to make sure that it's our paperwork. And, you know, that's not the way we should be living, for US citizens.
Yeah. Well, I know, and Charlotte was in national news last fall when the Border Patrol swept into town with their aggressive immigration raids. And you're a citizen, but I know that many of you and many close to you in your community were deeply impacted by that. Maybe you could just tell me a bit about what that was like.
My community was targeted by Trump's mass deportation agenda during the first term. And because of that, my family and I travel with our passport, both birth certificate and driver's licenses, like I told you. The past December, when ICE and CBP were deployed in Charlotte, they had where I live. It's a community of a couple of streets with Latino families. Especially where I live, there's over 1,000 families in the mobile park area. There's one way in, one way out. And what they did, it's a road. What they did, they had like 20 SUVs parked outside, like 3, 4 in the morning. They parked out there and they were waiting for us, for mostly everybody to start coming in and out. We were, you could call it, trapped inside, even though there was a lot of us that were US citizens. A lot of the people there, they grew up there. They're raising their kids there. They're in their 20s now, but they grew up there. You know, nobody went to school, nobody went to work. We were basically trapped in an area we should feel free because we're in America. We shouldn't live that way. We were trapped there. And that's what, Cunningham signed for them to come, to have more immigration come out.
Mm.
And I don't know if, you have to live through something like that so you can know what it feels like.
Yeah, seemed like there were politicians that were, across the aisle that were kind of going along with this. And that was maybe, I don't know if that was surprising or not, but it was certainly disappointing. And I'm sure it was one of the reasons why you were so inspired to get involved in the political process. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit. I mean, what was it like to be kind of part of the union, Unite Here, as your community was going through that?
It means a lot to be part of the union that is fighting back against the hate and discrimination and the systems that don't want to see us win in life. And to know that I don't have to do it alone has motivated me to keep going.
Yeah. Well, in addition to representing workers on the job, you and Unite Here have taken a real lead in getting people involved in the political process. I wonder if you could just tell me a little bit about what you've been doing to reach and educate voters and getting people to participate.
In addition to canvassing for the primary, we've been knocking doors for months, talking to union members and hospitality workers in our communities. It it really makes a difference when you see your coworkers or neighbor out in the community to keep them informed. By educating voters, we're putting the power back in their hands to be the change they want to see. Share the story about the Latino, like um when I went to knock on a door, okay, I hit a neighborhood, but there was 4 or 5 houses that were all related. and I hit their houses. And I was talking to them, and they're U.S. citizens, and they were telling me that they were not going to go vote. And I asked them why they didn't want to go vote. He goes, well, one of them told me, I was chased, I was chased from Lowe's. They chased me home and they were threatening me. And I told him, that's why you should vote. I've had situations where my grandson, he's in his 20s, and he stands up for his rights. That's why he's voting. I said, I promise you, if you guys go vote and you bring your friends to vote, a lot of us union representatives are going to be at the polls. We're going to be there to support you guys. And no one's going to bother you guys. ICE or anybody's going to bother you, because if there's ICE there, there's going to be more of us union people there.
Mhm.
So, he goes, well, we'll think about it. We had cars drive by just testing to see if, union members were there at the polls. And every time they would drive by, we would wave at them, letting them know because we were wearing bright orange vests. So I was at one of the polls, and lo and behold, he shows up. And he looks at me, smiles, and he goes, Mari. I go, I told you I'd be waiting for you. And a while later, his family started showing up to vote. And he gave me a hug, and I took a picture with him.
Yeah.
And he was surprised. He didn't believe that the union members would be, at the polls, like we promised that we would be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Well, it's like your presence was so important to breaking that climate of fear, you know?
yeah.
Yeah. Um, Boy, yeah. And do you find like, I'm sure there was just a lot of fear and just people just wondering if it was worth it. How do you inspire people to really make that call that it's worth, going out and taking a stand like that?
Well, our stories are superpower. When you meet someone, you can hardly tell anything about who they are or where they're from based on appearance alone. Having conversations is what we learn from each other, what makes us different, what brings us together. As a Latina woman and union member who lives and works in Charlotte, telling my story is how I connected with the voters. It's how
Mm,
we connect with each other every day.
yeah. And tell me, I'm wondering if you could just tell me a little bit how you got involved in the union.
How I got involved was, let me give you an example. It goes back a couple of years. Let's say,
Yeah.
when Trump first took office, my grandkids, they're in the union now. They're in their 20s.
Yeah.
They were kids. They were small. There was a raid in front of their school. The border patrol, ICE was parked in front of the school. And whenever I tell the story, I cry because as little kids, they shouldn't go through that because they live with it for the rest of their lives. They were being dropped off at school, and as their parents were coming out of the parking lot, they were being arrested in front of their kids. I mean, these are little kids, and they're watching their parents being taken away. And instead of having a good day in school, they're watching their whole day being ruined, their whole lives being ruined. And my grandkids, as I have custody of them, were watching all this going on, And imagine you seeing all this going on, and your grandmother's leaving, or like they call it, their mom, because I raised them, and they don't know if I'm gonna be home when they get home. And when I get home and I'm waiting for them and they see me, that I'm there, and they run up and hug me, and the expression on their face says a lot, and I don't know what's going on. And they start telling me about their parents, their friends' parents, that they're not there. And this fear in their eyes, during when we sit down to eat, the little one keeps touching me, because she can't believe that I'm home.
Mhm.
I'm a single grandparent, single mother, I'm everything to them. I'm the only family they have. That night, we all slept together, and I could feel in the middle of the night the little one touching my face, like running her hand, trying to make, can she believe it or not believe it that I'm home? The next day, I can barely afford to put food on the table, and I can't go to work because they're so clingy and they're scared that if I go out of the house, I'm Mexican and I won't come home. Okay. And the following day, I have to give them something that belongs to me just to promise that I'll be home when they get home. I spend
Mhm.
the whole day missing out on money, that we need just to make them understand that I'll be home that day, but the next day I have to go to work. And it's not, it's something they don't have to go through. Then that day that happened, the buses were coming into my neighborhood with the teachers on it to make sure that there would be parents to receive their kids, or those kids had to go back to school to find out, who was going to receive those kids if they didn't have parents. Imagine, going through that. Nobody has to go through that. The little kids didn't have to go through that.
Mhm.
So I made it a promise, if I can help, the unions always helped me. Why shouldn't I join the union and have them help? So the kids grew up, seeing me helping the union. So when they reached their age of 18, in fact, Aiden, my director, knows my family. And as soon as the youngest turned 18, she kept telling Aiden, I want to join the union. I want to join the union. He kept telling her, you have to wait until you're 18. He's right here. He can tell you the day she turned 18, right? She walked up to him. It was in the summer.
That's true. Actually, yeah, Maria has 3 grandkids that are all involved with the union.
The day she
Wow.
turned the day she turned 18, she goes, Aiden, it's my birthday. Can I come? And
This
he
is the
looked at her.
birthday present. You get to,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
He looked at me. He goes, what do you think? I go, well, you promised she turned 18. And there was the canvassing for what? The presidential.
That's right.
He goes like, yes, I have to bring her on if she's 18. And sure enough, he put her into a group and she went out and knocked on doors.
Oh, wow. Wow. So this is a family affair now, being involved in the union. Yeah.
3 generations.
Yeah. That's, that's amazing. That's amazing. And, that kind of solidarity, that you and the community feel being part of the union. I mean, that just sounds so powerful. Um, well, and part of what you do in the union, in addition to the solidarity that you were just describing, and defending your rights on the job, is in these last primary elections in North Carolina, the program that you helped lead and had a lot of success, including helping elect some progressive candidates for the North Carolina General Assembly, who will now go on to the general election this fall. I wonder if you could just talk a little bit about, what do you feel has made this so successful? What are some of the ingredients that has made this work you're doing with the union so effective?
Getting out with my union and being active. I mean, it's hard to explain, getting out, being active with the community. The way we do is what gives me courage to continue fighting, to bring change to North Carolina. The results of the past primary election gave me hope that change is coming. Not only that, seeing the turnout from voters who decided they wanted a change has given me hope too. But we're going to keep going because the work doesn't stop here. We have to keep going.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine too, you were able to weather that storm of those raids in Charlotte in the fall, but there's still, I'm sure, a lot of fear and also just people who are cynical. It's like, well, are we really going to be able to change things? Um, I don't know, just kind of speaking from the heart, what really gives you hope and courage going forward?
What gives me courage is if we've gone this far and we did positive work, we can do it all the way. I mean, look at Dr. Sandler. When I
Hmm.
talked to him and I saw what he had in his eyes when talked to him, I saw what I felt I saw in his eyes, and he gave me courage to continue doing what I was doing. It's like when I was canvassing that I was knocking on the door and I told I told the lady at the door, I said, what do you want changed? What do you feel? And I told her, I can tell you what I feel, what I've gone through. And when I was telling her, and then I told her I'm the only Latina they have in the groups, in Charlotte. And we were talking and my phone kept vibrating and vibrating and vibrating. I go, hold on, I think it's one of my leads is trying to get in touch with me. And I put him on speaker. He goes, Maria, where are you? I go, I'm a few doors down. He goes, we're looking for you. We don't know where you are. We're worried. And all of a sudden, one of the canvassers came running up to me. He goes, Maria, don't do that. We were worried. We didn't know where you were. And she burst out crying, the lady. She goes, I've heard of, Latinos getting picked up. He goes, but seeing it in person makes it real. He goes, that you are in danger. You are in danger of getting taken away. I go, yes, and I'm a U.S. citizen. She goes, I see the fear in the young kid looking for you. And she burst, she was crying. She goes, you know what? She goes, 100% I'm voting for him. She goes, because we need change. She goes, and I'll be there. I'm going to vote for him.
Well, this has all been really great. I'll just kind of last question I'll ask, if there's those people who are kind of on the fence, they're trying to decide whether they should get involved. What's kind of your message to people about what we can do?
They should get involved. The more we're involved, the better things are going to get.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time, Maria. This has been fantastic and really appreciate you telling us about the great work you're doing in Charlotte and with Unite here. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you.
Great.